What's the worst case of helicopter parenting you've seen? Story 1. This one kid I knew from elementary high school. The mom didn't have a job and somehow managed to be at his school every single day, watching over him. In elementary she was a volunteer teacher's aide every year, which meant she would help out in whatever class he was in. By middle school, she was the head of the PTA, and although not necessary she was at the campus almost every day. She would just wander around, and eventually, the school stopped caring and she could do whatever she wants. She would randomly pop into one of his classes and just observe or come up to him to hang out with him at lunch. The kid was 247, stressed the out. His whole body always clenched up. His mom put immense pressure on him to do well in school, both academically and behavior-wise. He had an extremely hard time making friends, and eventually he was bullied to the point of randomly getting beat up. Made it to the first year of high school before he had to transfer to another school. It's her fault. All she wanted was for him to be smart and polite to teachers, and he never got to learn how to just be a guy and make friends. Story 2. As an RA, I was checking students into their dorm rooms. One mother came with her son, who looked to be about 25, and she would not let him get a single word in. She went on about it being his first year in college, and that she was finally approving of him moving away from home and actually going to college, a big yikes we kept an eye on later. When he was assigned to a traditional room with a roommate, she flipped her, saying how she wanted him in an apartment so she could stay with him whenever she wanted. Can't do that anyway, and she would withdraw him from school if she didn't get her way. Thankfully, I was already dead inside from dealing with other residents, so I checked her son in, and immediately gave him the number of my boss in case his mother gave any more problems while he was moving in. I later heard from another RA that she tried to prevent the roommate from entering their shared room. Even though her son was desperately trying to get her to leave, the RA and student security had to her out of the building, where she sat until her son was done moving in. The son was actually a really cool dude once his mother was out of his hair, and a really involved student, happy to be on his own and living the college life. Even if he was a bit older, his mom still managed to call our duty phones asking about him, but BC of federal laws we just hung up. Story 3. My son told me about this one 5th grade overnight trip to nature center. Kid's mom was only parent, that wasn't a teacher, to go, had a complete meltdown when she was told that her kid would be sleeping in cabin with other kids and not her. She was told this before trip as well, for teachers per cabin, basically overnight school. He said she basically spent the entire night outside watching the cabin, really creeped everyone out. Man, the rant she went on Facebook, at least her friends and family called her out on her nonsense. Imagine quite a few people got blocked that day. Story 4. My son's befriended the new kid in middle school, homeschooled through elementary school years, but parents wanted him to interact with kids. He's a good kid, smart, but guarded and sheepish, but he got along great with my sons. They want to have a sleepover, he gets dropped off and his mother hands me a list. Had to be 4 pages of his routine, dos and don'ts, and everything. Adam is not to have anything to drink after the hour of 8 p.m. He needs to brush his teeth with a toothbrush we sent him with. He needs to be asleep by blah blah blah. I have 3 kids. I can keep a 12-year-old kid alive for 20 hours without a list. She would text me non-stop. I felt bad for the kid. I let him know, listen, if you bend a few of these rules, you'll never tell your mom if you won't, and he had this huge smile. I'm not sure what kind of people helicopter parents think they're creating, but it can't be a fun one, that's for sure. Story 5. My best friend's mom. They live 10 minutes away from me, and my friend is really bad with directions. He drove to my house and got lost, so it took him like 45 minutes. After like 30 minutes his mom calls me and is sobbing because he hadn't checked in with her. He's 26. Story 6. Working summer orientation for my old community college, and we have new students register for classes towards the end of the session. Counselors are there to help with class selection. This one mom was literally hovering over her son, telling him which classes to choose, and completely ignoring the counselor's advice. When she had him stand up, she proceeded to sit down and she herself started registering her son for his classes. I tried to intervene, letting her know that we ask that the student register themselves, and that he'll be doing online registration for the rest of his college career. I was told to FK off. Later I pulled him aside and told him to change his password and swap into a class more appropriate for his placement exams. It was this incident that triggered us to design a parent orientation to keep them away from their kids. Welcome to adulthood, lil bro. Story 7. In college, a girl's mom stayed in her room with her the first week of our freshman year, went to classes with her, ate with her, and attended our dorm meeting. Introducing herself as Crystal's mommy, she finally went home, and Crystal had obviously never learned to do anything on her own. Her roommate dated a guy on my floor and would tell us about her daily, multiple calls home. She didn't know how to do laundry, so mommy paid roommate to do it for her. By midterm, Crystal was failing all her classes and had basically just given up going to class as it was too hard. Again, mommy shows up, stays 2 weeks, talks to her professors, then pulled her out of school. I'm curious what she's doing now. Hopefully she broke out on her own and gained some independence. Story 8. A mom came with her kid to whine about a deserved poor grade. The kid was a junior in college. Mom was not happy when I informed her I couldn't and wouldn't talk to parents, and by not happy I mean lost her, and was escorted out by campus security. The student was mortified, of course, even came by to apologize, and I was basically like, let's both just pretend that never happened. Hey race, what you should work on for the next exam. Story 9. Dude came in to talk about his son's test scores. The son was in my second year university course. and the dad was a prof in the subject I was teaching who thought I was hard on his son. We reviewed the midterm together. In the end I gave the kid back 1 mark, so he went from like a 73 to a 74. Seriously, cannot imagine what it was like for that kid going up. Story 10. While working at new student orientation in college, I was told a story from a previous year. The parents who attended orientation were housed separately from the students. One mom wanted to stay with her daughter, and took the bed of another student. The mom told the student she can find somewhere else to sleep. The student, not knowing what to do, ended up sleeping in a chair in the common area of the dorm. Story 11. I'm in college, living off campus with my 20-year-old roommate. She has to be in contact with her mom every single day. If she doesn't answer within a few hours, her mom gets extremely anxious about where she is and what she's doing. Her mom has called me more than once to see where she is. Usually, I'm within 40 feet of my roommate and she's just doing homework or watching cable. It's ridiculous that she's being monitored like a hawk when she's an adult. Edit a word. Story 12. This is my sister's experience, but she taught kindergarten for a while, and she had a kid whose mother wouldn't let her play outside if it was below 70 degrees and told the school she was allergic to dairy, but then admitted she lied about that because she couldn't trust that the school wouldn't serve her spoiled milk, so she thought it would be easier to just say she was allergic. Also, the kid was coincidentally sick and had to stay home from school on every single field trip. Story 13. I was 11 to 13 at the time. I had a friend on the swim team that was also around that age. His parents were the most controlling people I had ever seen. His mother looked like the head of a Catholic girls' school that punishes students for singing. We all used to play Nintendo DS games during meets. He just watched over our shoulders because if he touched a gaming console he would be punished. His parents always made him wear the same clothes every day: tan khakis, white shirt, dark blue sweater vest. I once got him a t-shirt for his birthday. He gave it back saying that he wasn't allowed to wear it, he was homeschooled. Pretty sure his family spoke ecclesiastical Latin at home. Weird. The mom of a former coworker of mine. He was 27 or 28 and his mom didn't approve the woman he was dating, so he kept dating her in secret. He looked really in love with her, GF not so much, but seemed happy. Eventually his mom started calling me and a couple of other coworkers to check if her son was still dating that woman, so we lied to cover him. After a year or so of this secret relationship, the girlfriend got pregnant. My coworker proposed and they started planning a small wedding. When the mom knew, she went ballistic and forced him out of the engagement. He literally broke up with the future mother of his child because his mom said so. All of this happened 10 years ago. I still talk with the GF because I was friends with her. She is living with another guy. Her daughter is 9 years old and never knew her biological dad. I have no idea or interest of knowing what happened with my former coworker, if he is still living with his mom or what happened. Story 14. A friend's parents are hyper-controlling. He was on a date and sister called the parents because she was filling out the FAFSA, but was stuck. Instead of saying call your brother, mom drove 12 hours to their college town, tracked him down on his date, and then brought him but not the date to the sister's apartment to do it for her. Mom also came to the town when the sister said she saw his motorcycle parked in front of someone's house after dark. It was not his motorcycle. It was just another shiny red motorcycle. The helicopter parent seemed to have influenced a helicopter sister. Story 15. One of my neighbor's kids was a good basketball player, but she just didn't have the height for the position she played at a DI school. Coaches recruiting her told her that she could play DI if she switched positions, but her mother, who was a coach, would tell these coaches that her daughter wouldn't change positions, and to basically take it or leave it. Well, pretty much everyone chose to not extend scholarship offers at the DI level because of it. She ended up getting a really good scholarship to a D2 school that had the academic program she wanted. They even had a 6-year program that combined undergrad and the post-undergraduate school she would have had to go to, so the process would have basically been seamless to become a licensed professional in her field. However, her mother was so controlling over her recruiting that she told her daughter she couldn't go there because the coach didn't send her a bunch of cards and whatnot, basically things schools send to recruits to try to convince them to commit. It's mostly flattery, so she wouldn't allow her kid to commit there. Instead, she made her kid commit to this tiny DII school in the middle of nowhere, literally nowhere, extremely small and rural, that didn't even have the academic program her kid wanted. Her reasoning was that her kid would get a good Christian education, but how good is any education if it doesn't even have what you want to study? Eventually, the kid, with help from her father, quit playing basketball and transferred to a large state school because she hated the small Christian school so much, and she could finally study what she wanted to study. Her mom was so controlling that she ended up giving up on the sport she loved. This all would have been avoided if she had just gone to the D2 school. But no, her mom took way too much control and ended up ruining her kid's college athletic career. Edit. I must add that the daughter has since graduated and moved away, but based on the last conversation we had, she seems to be doing well. I think she was looking at grad schools, but I don't think she's started yet. Story 16. Regulars where I work. Mom is obsessed with her son, who is in his early 20s. He chose a school on the other side of the country. She moved and bought a house near campus so that they could still live together. Husband is always overseas for work. She would call and ask us to do specific things for her son. Remind him to take his keys and charger, call and make appointments for him, arrange rides, etc. Last update, I heard he chose a grad school in another country. Mom did not follow him. Thank God, he finally has some freedom. Story 17. Went to youth group with 2 kids who had the worst helicopter mom. These kids had no muscle mass and were the least athletic kids ever because their parents wouldn't let them play sports. Their mom came to every youth meeting we had, usually just for the youth and the youth leaders. The older kid begged his mom to go on a mission trip with us, only to another part of the state, not even out of country. After we all kind of vouched for him and said he'd be taken care, she let him go. Happy story in the end. He ended up completely coming out of his shell because of that trip. He got super independent, and his mom let up seeing that he could take care of himself. Story 18. We have a neighborhood newspaper, and a real estate agent with kids always writes an editorial on the first page. Her youngest kid is going off to college this fall, and this article was about what to do in the empty nest phase. This woman's advice was this might be a new and quiet chapter of your life. One college parent activity that's growing in popularity is buying a condo near the campus. For some parents, this offers the chance to visit their fledglings while having a stable and familiar place to stay. How about parents not do that? If my parents had followed me across state lines to college, just no. Story 19. Tried to befriend this guy who was 18. Introduced him to one of my wife's single friends. His mom went to dinner with us and drilled us with questions. We went to a movie after. Luckily his mom didn't go, but ended up missing the first showing and had to watch a later showing. Mom was furious that her baby boy was out so late partying with us. He wasn't allowed to go out with us again. He's 26 now. Saw him a couple weeks ago at the store and his mom was walking a few feet behind him. He has two older sisters that moved away as soon as they turned 18. One moved to Mexico and the other moved to Japan. We live in Kentucky. I now know why they moved. Story 20. My aunt never let my cousins have any kind of sugar or candy. She told them that it was poison and tasted nasty. One time while our grandma was babysitting them, they were 6, she let them have one Capri Sun each. They loved it, saying, "Grammy, sugar actually tastes good," and threw up shortly after because their stomachs could not handle it. My cousins are alcoholics now. Story 21. My mom had to be in bed by 8 p.m. all the way through middle school. Lights off, internet router shut off. Never allowed us to open a bank account by ourselves until we were adults. All money had to be given to her. She wouldn't give us back our own money if she didn't approve of what we wanted to buy. Constantly calling the school if she suspected our grades were falling. Didn't ask us. Punished by removing games books from our rooms. No cell phones unless we are old enough to buy one, and our own plan ourselves. Not allowed to go out without direct adult supervision until we were 16. Not allowed out after dark. If we went on the computer, we had to all write down the website, username, and password of whatever we went on, email, RuneScape, Neopets, etc. She would go on our accounts herself to try and check that we weren't talking to strangers. Not allowed to date until we hit 18. Wonders why none of her children go on dates now. Doesn't know about my sister's boyfriend, thankfully. Once we hit 18, we're given the option to move out that day or start paying rent. $500 a month. $700 now for me. We have to pay for our own toiletries, clothes, transportation. Shell drive us places but charge us money, and we're not allowed to eat anything in the pantry refrigerator if we didn't buy it. With the exception of dinner, which Shell still make for us. She says it's to encourage us to move out, and then broke down in tears when I asked for advice finding an apartment because why would any of us leave her? She then raised the rent for totally unrelated reasons. She's not a good person. Story 22. Was eating at the local all-you-can-eat cheap pizza buffet during college with friends. Overhear a conversation between a son and his mother where she was upset he wanted to go to said college because it was promoting drug use by having Tylenol available to buy in the student store. Story 23. A little girl who lived down the road from me and that I used to babysit. Her mom was so obsessive she basically pushed the father out of the picture without actually separating or divorcing. I quit babysitting when she was about 5 because I couldn't take it anymore. My sister took over though, and they were neighbors, so I kept up to date. She didn't learn how to speak until she was 4. Not due to any learning disability, but her mom emphasized not encouraging her to talk and that she would learn when she's ready. She only taught her basic sign language to ask for food or drink. Ended up falling and hurting herself pretty badly, internal injuries, and couldn't communicate it to her parents because she didn't know how to talk. It was only her dad's quick thinking and taking her to the hospital that saved her life. Learned how to talk pretty quickly after that. When it came time for her to go to school literally down the road from their house, maybe 6 houses down, her mom couldn't handle the separation and would show up to the school every day. This pissed off the school, and while she made it through kindergarten, it was a few months into 1st grade when the school requested that she limit her visits to once a week, and to only use that time to actually assist in volunteering like the other parents. So she reacted like a reasonable adult and immediately pulled her daughter out of school and began homeschooling her. Kid is probably around 18 to 19 now. Last saw her with her mom of course a couple years ago at a wedding, and she seemed alright, but who knows how well adjusted she actually is. Story 24. Had a very socially awkward dude come up to me at a pool, interrupt me mid-sentence during a conversation with my friends, and introduce himself. What made it really awkward was that he immediately said he was socially awkward, then proceeded to talk about how his helicopter mom wouldn't let him do anything, and this is his first time away from her since he's grown up, what the effects on his life have been, etc. Didn't get a chance to see it firsthand obviously, but this kid had no social skills at all and is going to have a really hard life. Couldn't read cues that he interrupted a conversation and that we didn't really want to talk to him. I felt bad, so I continued the conversation longer than I would have liked even after my friends walked away. Story 25. Probably not the worst, just the nearest to me. My mom expects a call letting her know if I leave the house, where I'm going, etc. She flips out if I don't answer 2 calls in a row. Am not allowed to hang out with anybody, even family, without her approval. Fun facts 1, I am 29. 2, I am married with kids. 3. I live an hour away from her in my own house with my own truck. She also told me I am not allowed to have any more kids, as I developed preeclampsia with my youngest and it scared her. I follow exactly 0 of these rules, but she persists. Story 26. This dude is 1920. He still lives at home, so his mom takes this as she can still be as helicopter-y as she wants. Before I hung out at his house without his mother's knowledge, he had never had someone over. His mom insists on meeting the parents of everyone he hangs out with. She gets wildly upset if she doesn't get a reply from him by even 5 minutes, even if his phone is dead and he has 0 social skills. BC of her. Story 27. My mother wouldn't stop hovering over me until I broke out of it at the end of high school. She always checked my grades for me instead of me doing it myself, etc. Always emailed teachers in high school about grades and whatnot. Wouldn't let me make mistakes and learn on my own. Always tried to force me into studying and learning even when I was genuinely tired or uninterested. Forced me into mathematics classes, giving me no time to relax and take time off. Always was like, I have to check your homework in grades 6 to 8. Treats me like a child, even though I'm 19. Tried to take away my computer, but I was able to non-violently keep her from doing so. Refuses to change in any respect. I am almost certain that not a single one of her coworkers actually likes her. Always micromanages my weight. To lose weight you have to actually want to do it for yourself. If someone micromanages you, you lose that drive and can't achieve your goal. As a result, a lot of the skills that most people would have developed are also ones that I don't possess, namely the drive to get assignments done on time and the drive to prepare myself for life in the real world. The reason I got all BS and CS with only a few A's was because I barely survived. I never felt like I was doing it for myself, but it always seemed like I was doing it for her. I never had that motivation. Nowadays, I always feel uneasy around her and cannot really say many positive things about her. I can't even believe I came out of her. Ridiculous. On the other hand, my dad is your ideal dad who lets you learn on your own when you're supposed to learn on your own. He helped me through this, and he admits mom has problems. But why did I have to go through this? Story 28. I used to work in a school. We had 2 separate parents of unrelated special needs children who would drop their kids off in class and then stand in the hallways watching through the window for literally the full school day, every day for the entire school year. Before anyone asks, the principal was a spineless pantywaist who sucked, which is why this was allowed to go on. The next year the school got a new principal and I'm told she put her foot down. But by then I didn't work there anymore. Story 29. Oh, this girl I went to high school with. We rode at the same barn. Her mom was co-owner. She and her sister were the typical horse girls, and emotionally stunted because their mother treated them like they were 5 or 6 years younger than they really were. Like I'm talking sparkly glittery little girl clothes in middle school, character backpacks in high school, etc. The older sister went to community college and the MOM enrolled with her, attended all the same classes, same professors, etc. When the older one went on to vet school, MOM moved 1,000 miles to be with her. She wasn't allowed to live in the dorms, because mommy rented an apartment for them. Story 30. A kid at my community college had a mom that would sit in the parking lot and wait between classes. I knew because once he offered for me to ride with his mom to the other side of campus. It wasn't that big of a place. Poor kid, just thought it was normal and nice. Edit. I think it would have made more sense if you saw it. I'm pretty sure he went to the car after each class, ate lunch there, everything. She came with him to the spring fling event, picked all his classes for him. Maybe it was just a supportive mom, but it seemed kinda excessive to me. Story 31. I used to work at a place in the university during college. We had a few parents come in and ask for jobs for their college-aged children in person, without the student's knowledge. If they came in with a student in tow, that would be even worse. We also had parents who would call on the phone doing the same thing. Naturally, a lot of the students were from out of state, so I don't know if they drove up just to ask for the job or whatever, but that is even more scary. It was very awkward, and this was quite a while ago for me, so it's not like it's a recent thing. Story 32. I work at an admissions front counter for a university, so I get helicopter parents all the time over the phone, but I had a mom that had me laughing over the phone because of how ridiculous she was. Let's call her Susan for reference. At first, she was normal, asking about general admissions processes and what are the requirements. However, where she messed up was when she admitted she did the application for him because he is a boy and you know how boys can be, so I just did it for him. Then she started to fly off the walls. She asked if the campus was open because she wanted to visit her son every single day since they live 15 minutes away from the main campus. Susan tried making herself not sound bat crazy by sliding in her bringing him baked goods and home-cooked meals. But I know she just wants to pester her child. There was another talk about how she wanted to get access to his student account to see his grades. I told her that she was not going to be allowed to get that access because her child will be considered an adult and the student has to give her permission by saying a FERPA form. She wanted to know how and where to get those documents ASAP. As far as social life, Susan asked if there were parties on campus. It's a college, of course there are going to be parties. The worst part is that she asked if they are supervised by parents. This is where I couldn't help but laugh because why did she think that this was a high school setting? Susan then followed up with, well, how will I know where he is going or if he gets in trouble? And I said very casually, ma'am, if your student decides to do something illegal, smoke weed, drink underage, and gets caught by campus police and gets arrested, you'll be getting that phone call. And she had nothing else to say. Story 33. This is a true story of a guy my dad went to university with back in the day who married into a helicopter parent situation. This guy, we will call him Dave, met a girl Cindy at uni and they began dating and eventually engaged. However, during the dating process, Cindy's mother insisted on spending time with both of them when they were together. She even joined her daughter on their first date without either of them warning Dave until he came to pick her up. Cindy's mother was very much in their business, showing up to their dates and sitting at tables nearby and watching them. Somehow, they managed to push through this, fall in love and get engaged. While they are planning out their honeymoon, Cindy's mother finds the name of the resort they are staying in, contacts the hotel and reserved the room right next door to them for herself. Also, buys tickets on the same flight as them to and from their destination. During the honeymoon she would follow them everywhere they went. Constantly yelling at Dave for drinking on the beach, eating too much food, or even snoring too loud at night. That's how Dave discovered she was listening to them through the shared wall. Honeymoon ends and they go home to their house for the first time, but Cindy doesn't move in at the demand of her mother. The mother constantly ran screens on them spending more time together and basically forced Cindy to continue to live at home with her. Needless to say, Dave and Cindy got a divorce within a year of the wedding. Last Dave had heard, Cindy still hasn't remarried. Story 34. My friend right now, she's 19 years old and we graduated high school last year. She turned down a full ride scholarship because her parents wanted her to stay at home. She is only allowed to watch Rated G and a couple of Page 13 media, and she has never had a sleepover and is not allowed to have one. When she is able to go out, she can only go to our former high school, the community college we go to, the movie theater, or a very close friend's house. She is only allowed out for 4 hours at a time. To top all of this, she is very insecure and has a couple of body issues. She kind of reminds me of myself in 7th grade when I was so insecure I hated everyone who dressed girly or did girly things, so I only wore a hoodie and jeans, which is what she wears, and she kind of has the same superior attitude. I do not think she is super girly, but I also genuinely do not know her type of style or anything like that because she has never explored. She wears the same thing every day. I am planning on kidnapping her and taking her out for a girls' night or something because I know her mom is too afraid to drive long distances and my friend is becoming very depressed and suicidal. Any suggestions on how I can help her? It would be greatly appreciated. Story 35. I once knew a woman who was a germaphobe. I don't mean that she was just a really clean person. She was, but I'm guessing she could have had some kind of OCD anxiety disorder. She had 2-year-old that loved to play outside, but she wouldn't let him touch the ground directly. She would literally put the poor kid in a kind of hamster ball type fortress and then put him on the ground. He was crawling around like a gerbil without ever touching anything. I don't know where they are now, but I hope that kid is okay. Story 36. A woman known as the Dragon Lady to our high school marching band. Standard WASP family with a pastor dad and a mom who ruled the roost. Dragon Lady was band president during both of her sons' time there. The sons were very good kids. I had the biggest crush on the younger one my freshman year. But naturally they tried to break free of their strictness. Despite being in the 2010s for high school, the boys didn't get a phone to call home with until they were both seniors, just flip phones for calling. But no texting. Dragon Lady was there anytime school or practice was happening. Anyway, they couldn't date any girls unless mom approved. So of course they dated behind the parents' backs. When they got found out, parents made them break up and ripped the boy a new butthole. Never got to go to proms, homecoming, any sort of after-school event that wasn't church-sanctioned. When they graduated, both were shipped off to a tiny private Christian college somewhere up in Ohio. For the record, the one I crushed on ghosted everyone he knew, then reappeared with a family-approved, God-fearing wife at the age of 20. Story 37. My girlfriend's mother wanted to go with my GFS sister to jury duty, even though the sister was constantly reassuring her she could go by herself. She's over 21 BTW. Story 38. Oh my god, this one gives me some flashbacks. So in elementary school, specifically 5th grade, I had this kid sat next to me. Special needs, but we didn't have a special ed class because small charter school, so he was in my class. This kid was an extremely high-functioning autistic, like he was crazy smart analytically, but he struggled with social interaction. This kid's mom completely ruined how smart he was by babying him constantly. She screeched at the school demanding that because he was special needs that she be allowed to be in the classroom with him, and that he not be made to do the same work as everyone else. It got so horrible that when we went on a school trip to a nature camp for 3 days, the mom took him to the doctor before the trip and had him diagnosed with some bullshit issue that the doctor probably gave just to get her out of the hospital, and had a feeding tube installed in his stomach just so she would have a reason to come and visit him every night. I seriously felt bad for this kid. He had so much potential to be a great member of society, but his mom completely ruined it by treating him like a baby all the time. Story 39. I watch a neighbor kid, he's 15. The poor kid has no social life skills. I do not blame him as his guardian stepmother is crazy controlling. Up until this school year, she walked him to the bus stop literally 2 houses down, then proceeded to wait until he boarded the bus. Once, she grounded him for talking to a stranger at McDonald's. As stated, the kid is 15. She refuses to let him do normal teenager things. The furthest he can walk alone is 1 house down, through an alley to my house. Story 40. Wait until you hear about an ex-girlfriend of mine we met in elementary school and reconnected later in our 20s. She was very shy and timid, but sweet and intelligent. I thought I would give it a go. She was 24 and still lived with her parents. No big deal to me. I didn't move out on my own until a few months before we began dating. Little did I know that it wasn't really her choice to live there. Her mother was incredibly controlling and was the worst helicopter parent I've ever come across. Her mom would repeatedly say to us, "It's nice you guys are dating, but I think you're both too young to be doing it." Mind you, we were both 24. She also mentioned on several occasions I didn't begin dating until I was in my 30s. I don't think anyone should date until they're 30 to 35. Things like that. My girlfriend was really annoyed by her comments and constantly got into this weird teenage-like arguments with her. One time her mom said, "Oh, that's just your young hormones kicking in." That was weird. Anyway, my girlfriend had to text her mom before she left anywhere, and when she arrived, her mom used to Google map the time and distance between places. If she forgot to text her, she received an insane amount of phone calls or texts. Her mom made her get paper checks so her mom could keep track of her money, and would not allow her to get direct deposit. She was also way over precautious about things. One time we went for a walk around dusk. She lived in a small town population 2,000 to 2,500 and lived on the side of town that was well lit and hardly any sort of vehicle traffic. Her mother sent her dozens of texts within minutes of us leaving begging her to come home because you're both not wearing reflective clothing, and this is a bad idea because it's getting dark, and I'm trying to protect you. Walking in the dark is incredibly dangerous, this and that. As a side note, her mom also used to make little hits at me for my job at the time. She said I don't think it's a good career path. I worked at a bank as a relationship manager managing bank accounts and opening investment accounts for higher net worth individuals and was looking to get my MBA. I was actively studying for the GRE exam.